Hello and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha, the teachings of Rabbi Eliezer Melamed, Shlita. Hope everyone's week is going well. We continue our learning, and please continue to daven for Chaylei Tzva Yisrael, Refuah Shalem L'chol Petzuei Yisrael, and a safe return of our hostages. We dedicate our learning each and every session Le'ili Nishmas, Saren Daniel Shemen Arav Zerun V'Shel Yishem Ekum Damo. The next chapter is Ein Lihispalel B'Makom Gavoa. Ha'omer Lifnei Kadosh Baruch Hu B'Tefillah Tzarich Ladas She'Chayim V'Habracha B'Yadav. So when you stand in front of our Maker in prayer, so we have to know that our entire lives, all blessing is in the hands of God. And Hashem is by no means obligated to fulfill our requests. Therefore, we should stand in front of God, in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in a fashion of anivus, in a humble fashion. And the Gemara in Brachos and Daf Yud tells us, Lo ya'amod adam lo al gabe kisei v'lo al gabe srafraf v'lo makam gava v'yispalel v'she'ein gavahos lifnei hamakom shenemar mima amakim kerosicha Hashem. The Gemara says that a person shouldn't stand on a chair, not on a bench, shouldn't stand on a high place in daven, because there is no elevation in front of God. Because we say mima makim, as we say in the 130th Psalm, that we call to Hashem from the depths. Omnam, as Pesach Knesset tzarich livnos b'gava shalir, but you can build the shul, you should build the shul in a high point of the city. Kedei laseis kavod v'romos leBeis HaKnesses. This gives honor and a regal stature to the shul itself. Aval hamispalal atzmo tzarich la'amod lifnei elakav ba'anava. But the one who's davening, he has to stand in front of his God, in front of Hashem, with anava, with humility. So therefore we don't stand on a high place. Misupar b'Talmud, so the Gemara tells us in Tainus and Daf Chav Gimel, Al Rabbi Yonah, shahiyadu katzadik shetfilosav ne'enos. Rabbi Yonah was known as a righteous person, and his prayers were answered. And when they came to him because there was a shortage of rain, a lack of rain, and they wanted him to daven, halach l'makom amok, he went to a low, deep place, again, to fulfill the dictum of the words of David HaMelech that we call from the depths. V'sham hispalel ad shenena v'yardu geshamim, and he davened there until rain began to fall. Mitam ze naga b'kam makamos lahanmiches makamos shalachazan, v'lechen shliach hatzibur nikra yorid lifnei hateva. So a couple of interesting points here, which you may have seen and not realized. Many shuls have it that where the chazan davens, let's say the amud, that it's slightly lower. There might even be a slight decline in the flooring to fulfill this dictum. And also the language that's used in the Talmud for someone who leads services is called yored lifnei hateva, the one who goes down in front of the ark. It's part of this principle. Kechlal, so as a rule, makam gavoa she'asher chachamim laman alav b'tfilah hu makam shegavoa shlosha tvachim me'al pnei hakarka. This means that you shouldn't daven in a place that's 3 tvachim, says 23 centimeters. We say about 9-10 inches, something like that, off the ground. Omnam lamaisa, however, practically speaking, b'derech klal gam al makam namoch mizeh ein lispalel. Generally speaking, even on a low point like this, we don't daven. Shnei tam lakach. The reason is omad al shrafa fosel. If you're standing on a ledge or a rock, gam kasher govo tefach bavad, even if it's only 1 tefach high, choshesh shema yovad es shiva mishkalova and yochel lachav and You're worried about losing your balance and you won't be able to concentrate. And 2, if the floor is flat, and you put yourself on top of pillows or cushions or something, then it looks as if you are being haughty, and you shouldn't daven this way. Aval, but anything that we put, let's say we have carpeting on our floors or rugs or something like that, then certainly you're allowed to daven on this. It's not considered elevating yourself. Let's say that the floor is tilted for some reason. A lot of shuls, let's say, have stadium theater-style seating where at the back of the shul it's higher than the lower of the shul. So if you're there, this is, you don't have to be makbid that you don't go to the higher parts. As long as you're not the person next to you, you're not more than 3 tefachim higher next to him. If someone is ill or someone is elderly and can't get out of bed, so you could daven on your bed, even though that's considered certainly more than 3 tefachim off the ground. This is not considered haughty. Obviously, it's for health reasons. If let's say the elevated portion stands on its own, it's at least 4 by 4 amos. So an amos will say is 1.5 feet, so you do the math. You're allowed to daven on that. Because we don't look at it as comparison to other places, we consider it its own entity. So let's say there are different levels in a shul, then obviously they're considered separate entities, and we don't look at, let's say, someone davening in a different level of the shul as being haughty. So I'll just say, for a very practical example, where I sit in the shul, and the main shul is on the bima, they call it, but it's certainly more than 3 tefachim off the ground relative to anyone else. But however, it's such a large space that it's not considered haughtiness. That's just where the rabbi sits. Also, let's say if the place is smaller than 4 amos, if it's surrounded by fences or guard rails or something, then it is considered its own entity, and you can daven there. He says also the same thing applies not only where the rabbi sits, but also where the chazan davens, where they have a separate elevated bima for the chazan to stand, or where they have kriyas haTorah. If they put a rail around it, which many of the old-time synagogues have, probably just for safety and for design, or if it's more than 4 by 4, which most of them are, the mutar lehispalel, you could certainly daven on it. We don't look at it vis-a-vis the rest of the shul because it's considered a separate entity. But the one who's davening on there, let's say leading, okay, you don't fulfill the mimamakim from calling from the depths. Because because there's a trade-off here. Do you want to have mimamakim getting from the depths, or would you rather have the chazan in a place where he can be heard by everyone? That's why they have these center fixated, located spaces that are elevated so that everyone in the community, everyone in the shul would be able to hear. So again, we have this trade-off. So it's only a hiddur of mimamakim. It's not a requirement. And certainly if the trade-off is between having everyone being able to hear the chazan and follow along, that certainly is so much better. So now we know where to stand in shul and how to elevate ourselves without elevating ourselves. Yes, I did that. Please continue davening for Chayalei Tzvah Gnei Yisrael, for Shalom Echal B'Tzua Yisrael, safe return of our hostages. Nishmat, Sarah, Daniel Shimon, Rav Doron Vashel Shem Kam Damo. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.